You're listening to The Hog Call on 1190 AM, The Fan. All right, 877-496-1190. That's the number you can call to be part of The Hog Call here on 1190 AM, The Fan. We got Kevin McPherson with us from SportingLifeArkansas.com. You can also check him out on Twitter at ARHoopscoop. He's also a contributor to Hogville.net. Kevin, it's good talking to you once again.
Man, this weather's perfect. I know it's football weather, but, man, there's a lot of basketball still heating up, believe it or not. Arkansas doesn't start practice till October 1st, but the sport never sleeps. They've actually started their early morning conditioning this week. And you've got, of course, all kinds of recruiting news going on right now. Hogs are front and center there, too.
Now, you know, one thing is there's going to be some visitors this weekend from the 2020 class, the Wings Elite.
That's right. Their top four players, and it starts with Chris Moore. He's a 6'6" combo forward, a guy that's played mostly inside in the grassroots circuit. He's a double-double machine. I think he had 35, 36 double-doubles over the spring and summer, playing for a Wings team that was ranked 10th in the top 10 nationally. Just had a great spring and summer. A guy that people, I constantly hear, at the high major level, the SEC level, he's going to have to grow some more to play that kind of a role and play inside. But, I got to watch him play at the Little Rock Trojans Elite Camp a few weeks ago, and the guy was really amazed at how well he did, not only rebounding, but pushing the ball up the floor, showing off his ball handling skill, his shooting skill. He's very efficient in the mid-range. He even took 2 or 3 threes. I think he made all of them. So I think this guy's got a lot more to his game. I think he's going to transition to that 3 spot, which should work nicely if he doesn't grow and he's taller than 6'6". And, Landis Harris, he played that combo 4 spot, that undersized 4, really a 3, playing a 4 for Arkansas at 6'6". So here's a guy that I think is going to do well at the high major level. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I'm not concerned at all about whether he grows anymore or not based on what I've seen. And I'll be surprised if he doesn't walk away with an offer this weekend on his Arkansas visit.
Now, do you see more of this 2020 group getting offers sooner or later? I know Anderson sometimes can be a little careful with that.
Right. We've talked about it before. Arkansas doesn't typically offer players until, the soonest usually is their junior year, sometimes later than that. But with this class, when you can identify guys at this point in time that are high major, Arkansas has been on a roll with in-state players as far as, getting them offered, getting commitment. So I think it's a good plan. They kicked it off, weekend before last with Moses Moody. He went up and took his unofficial visit on a Sunday. He was there about 5 hours, and they offered him on the spot. And he has, by the way, since been offered by Oklahoma. But going back to these Wings, I think at least a couple of them. I feel certain, I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like Chris Moore will get an offer. Gerald Dokes, he's a 6'2" combo guard, really a shooting guard right now. He's learning some of the finer points of facilitating, but this guy's explosive. He's quick. He's straight line speed is off the charts. His hops are, he gets off the floor with the best of them at that size. So you put all those together, and it's an elite combination of stuff that he can do on a basketball court. He's at North Little Rock now. He was at Jacksonville Lighthouse, and I went and watched North Little Rock practice the other day, and he got a steal on the baseline and converted it to the other end for a dunk, and nobody could get close to him. That's how quick and fast and explosive he is. I was kind of went into this week thinking that I wasn't expecting him to get an offer, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does. And I'm leaning more now toward that he may also be getting an offer. I still don't expect it, but I'm leaning toward he probably will. Now, we'll see. It won't surprise me if they wait a little bit on him, but I think both he and Chris Moore are in great shape to get offers this weekend. So that would be 3 in-state players from that class of 2020 that would have offers extended in the last couple of weeks when you count Moses Moody. Now, Devontae Davis, this guy may be the gem in the group. He's grown to 6'3", so he shot up a couple of inches the last year. He's a point guard, 6'6" wingspan, super quick, one of the most electrifying open court players I've seen, especially as a facilitator. But he can go and score as well. He's a guy that's really improved his shot. He's a lefty. He's worked on his shot. It's gotten better. Clutch player. When the Wings were in Las Vegas, he hit a couple of shots, one that won a game, another at the buzzer, another buzzer beater that sent a game into overtime that the Wings eventually won. So here's a guy that's really stepped up his game. I was very impressed with him as well at the Little Rock Elite Camp. a few weeks ago. He really stood out. So here's a guy that if he doesn't, he may not get an offer this weekend, but he's a guy that I think in time could. And then Caleb London, he's a 6'4" wing for the Wings from Memphis, and he's moved into Arkansas. He'll be at Conway this coming season, but he's a guy that's really, he reminds me a little bit of a bigger Manny Watkins in that he's a perfect glue guy, the kind of guy that just goes out and makes wing plays. He's not shy either about sticking his nose in and getting rebounds. He had multiple double-doubles for the Wings Elite this spring and summer, so a very good player and a guy that Arkansas will definitely keep an eye on.
Is this going to be the best class in in-state and Arkansas history?
I don't know. That's a big statement to make, and these guys are still so young. I think it could be, okay, because there's a lot of guys out there. Kalen Robinson here in the Little Rock area played at Episcopal Collegiate last year. He was the state tournament, the 3A state tournament MVP as a freshman. Now, he's at Bryant. He'll be at Bryant, so that 7A Central is going to be even better. Than it was last year, and it was great last year. So that's just another name. There's so many more. Traylon Payne, Dietrich Reeves. The list goes on and on of guys in that class that are standouts that are going to be, to me they look like Division I now. So if they're Division I now, maybe mid-major right now, but some of these guys are end up high major, and it could be the deepest high major class that Arkansas has seen. So that statement could end up being true.
Now, I'm going to pose this question to you. You may or may not know the answer to this. You may be guessing as much as I am. But, when you talk about how today compared to the past, you usually didn't really talk about the freshmen in high school that much or even sophomores that much. You didn't really talk to them until they were kind of upperclassmen. Now we're talking about all these great prospects in 2020, stuff like that. So when a fan reads about, say they go to sportinglifearkansas.com, they read one of your excellent articles and they see, okay, so-and-so 6'5", but that was what he was measured as a freshman. What do you think the average growth is for a player physically from that time to the time that they actually walk into a university?
Well, it's different for everybody. Some guys peak out sooner than others. Some guys, if you look at a guy like Daryl Macon, when he was in high school, the guy could shoot, but he was 5 foot nothing. Now he's 6'3". He's a guy that shot up late. I say shot up. His height came a little later. And he went the JUCO route, and now he's a Friends All SEC type of player coming into his senior season in Arkansas. Some guys just mature faster. A guy like Moses Moody's already 6'5". What I really look at is not just the growth in their height. I look at the length of their arms. Do they have a wingspan that exceeds their height? That's always helpful. You look at guys that, athleticism's natural, but some guys really improve by working and getting stronger. That's something I've seen in Moses Moody. The guy, he's grown probably from 6'3.5" to 6'5" in less than a year, but it's also the weight and strength that he's put on. It's so noticeable. His shoulders are bigger, his arms are bigger, his chest is bigger, and you could see that in his play translate because he's always had skill. Now he's able to take contact and finish through guys. Now he's able to go in, and he's always scrapped for 50-50 balls and rebounds. Now he kind of wins those battles a little sooner than before when he was still kind of down there scratching and clawing and getting pushed around. So, when I look at guys' development, I'm kind of not just looking – obviously height's important, but so are other factors, and weight and strength, and if that stuff's put on in the right places, you can really tell. And these guys at this age, they're growing so fast and they're changing so fast that you can really see it translate on the basketball court what they're trying to do as they grow and get bigger and stronger.
Now, those are some visitors, of course, in the 2020 class for this weekend. A great weekend by them to visit with the weather and the game and all that good stuff. But you got some visitors coming in next weekend as well, including one person that kind of changed up his schedule just a little bit.
Yeah, well, things have changed a little bit. We talked about this coming weekend, and what we didn't talk about was Keyshawn Embry. He visited last weekend. He was the sole visitor, had the weekend to himself, so he had the staff to himself. He got to know the players. He originally was supposed to visit 2 weekends ago along with Josh LeBlanc, and that didn't happen. And so Keyshawn got on campus last weekend over the holiday weekend, and, all reports are that the visit went great. I talked to his dad, who's also his AE coach, and he said that the staff did a really good job of, just being straightforward with him so they don't put on airs or put on a show. You know, they really tell him how it's going to be, and he said that that's what Keyshawn's looking for, that he really appreciated that. He liked the team. He liked his, time on his official visit. Now, he also visited about a year ago, last fall, so on an unofficial. So it's second time on campus. But, here's the thing. He got off campus without committing. And, Arkansas offered him in July. They were really close to offering him during the basketball season. I think it was back in February, March. They were really close to doing it, and they just didn't do it, and they ended up offering him in July. I know he likes Arkansas. That's why they're in basically his final three. But the fact that he got out of there and there's no commitment, I think that could be troubling for Arkansas, because this weekend, we talked about this class of 2020 players from the Wings Elite visiting Arkansas. Well, this weekend, Keyshawn Embry and Josh LeBlanc will be visiting together at Texas A&M, and all of a sudden I think that really puts A&M in play. These guys kind of downplayed A&M's involvement when we first started talking a few weeks ago, but I think the fact that they've, synced up these visits together, it could pass, and they may end up going to other schools. It's thought that LeBlanc is favoring LSU. He's from Baton Rouge. But if, it was once thought that if they were going to play at the same school, they are friends. They have talked about it, that it might be Arkansas. But that visit together at Arkansas didn't materialize. Now they're going to be in College Station this weekend. So I've talked to one guy who knows Keyshawn pretty well, and he told me last night that he thinks that he might pull the trigger this weekend at A&M. And one of the things that Arkansas does when they tell you like it is, they're not going to tell you that you're going to get playing time right away that you're not going to get. If you're going to get playing time and they see that for you, they'll tell you that as a prospect, but they're not going to whitewash it. And the word I'm getting is that A&M's selling Keyshawn pretty hard on the fact that he can come in right away and be the man. So, that's one way to recruit, and I'm not knocking it, but I'm saying that's definitely got his eyes open. So I'm not going to predict a commitment this weekend at Texas A&M, but it's possible.
Now, there is a 2018 shooting guard who could be an alternative to one of these two guys that is not going to visit this weekend, but maybe next weekend.
Well, we're talking about Keontae Kennedy, and actually he's looking at postponing it to sometime in October.
Okay.
He was slated to come in this weekend in the last few days. I actually, as of Tuesday, the Arkansas coaching staff still thought he was coming in. That situation changed yesterday. I had a conversation with a basketball scout Tuesday night who said that he felt like Keontae is really looking for an offer from Michigan. Now, he's got Michigan on his official visit list, one of his three that he's got scheduled. That's on October 6th. So, Michigan hasn't – it's one of those deals where he's got an offer contingent upon his visit. So I'm told that he really wants that offer. The person I talked to feels like he'll probably end up at Michigan. But, man, this is recruiting. It's wild and crazy. You talk about it in football, same in basketball. What's true today is not true in 48 hours, maybe a week later. Things change. But if that's the case, it's probably better off if he does postpone a visit to Fayetteville for later on in October. If Arkansas coaches got wind of that and they feel like, maybe another team's where he really wants to go, they can see how that plays out and still get him in. And I think the reason Arkansas can afford to do that is because of a couple of guys that are going to actually visit the weekend after this weekend, the 15th through the 17th. And that's Reggie Chaney and Jordan Phillips. These guys, there's a national analyst I visited with the other night who's predicted both of these guys are going to end up with the Razorbacks. So here's a guy that's in the know. He talks with the Razorbacks coaching staff daily. He feels confident that in his prediction, because he put his name out there on the crystal ball prediction at 247 Sports and says, hey, I think these guys are going to end up with the Razorbacks. So, it's not a guarantee. Those things aren't 100%. They're not scientific, those predictions. But after talking with him and hearing some of the things he had to say, he feels good about it. So, very well may end up happening.
And, well, you talk about predicting Chaney and Phillips. A little bit about these guys. Reggie Chaney, we've heard about him. I know you've mentioned Jordan Phillips before. I'm not that familiar with him, though.
Yeah, so for fans, so we try to talk about these guys each week as we get closer to their visits, but let's go through both. Reggie Chaney, I think he's listed on most sites at 6'7". Some I've seen him listed at 6'8". He told me he's 6'8", 220. Maybe he's somewhere in between, but the thing I really like about him is He's super quick for a guy that's as strongly built as he is. He's very agile. Okay, he's got a really nice bounce on his takeoff. He's a guy that can put the ball on the floor and beat other forwards to the basket. He's a blue-collar guy inside. He's told me that he's improved his shot out to the three-point line. I haven't seen anything to indicate that in highlights, but I'll take his word for it right now. But the big key is Arkansas needs somebody that can get to the basket and finish around the rim and play inside. And Reggie Chaney is one of those guys. And you like the fact that he handles it well enough and he's quick enough so that he's not just an inside player. He can actually attack from the high post and even the wing. You know, Arkansas moves its players around a lot, both on offense and defense. So you want versatility like that. And so Reggie Chaney brings that to the table. He's at Finley Prep. He's from the Dallas area, Frisco, Texas. You know, and he played on the Nike EYBL circuit, averaged over 7 rebounds a game. So that's production in a blue-collar stat that you like to see if you're going to go out recruiting 6'7", 6'8" big guys. And then Jordan Phillips, you know, he's an interesting player, very versatile 6'6" wing. The highlights that I've seen of him, I'm impressed with his ability to, you know, put the ball on the floor, get to the basket. He's a strong guy, so he can take contact and finish. He's got a nice mid-range shot in game. From some of the highlights I saw, you know, you can't always trust highlights because it's just the good stuff, but looks like he's got a decent shot out to the three-point line. So, you know, it's a guy with some size on the perimeter. Arkansas has really stepped up in that area with guys like Khalil Garland and Darius Hall, and, you know, this might be another step in that direction. So, you know, Jordan Phillips, he's from Arlington, Texas. So you see Arkansas getting a lot of traction right now in the Dallas area. With guys like Reggie Chaney, Jordan Phillips, Keontae Kennedy, if he ever makes it on the campus for his visit. He's also, you know, he's from Austin. But Arkansas, you know, Caden Archie's another guy they offered from the Dallas area. Farron Hunt, who just committed to TCU, was a guy that Arkansas took a long look at and evaluated in the spring and summer, also from the Dallas area. So Arkansas is starting to concentrate a little bit in that area. You know, I've thought about this. You know, when Arkansas expanded the campus and they grew their student body population from about 15,000 to about 25,000, a big part of that was the in-state tuition they offered to students in Texas. And there's a big influx up there of students from the Dallas area. So it's probably interesting. I wouldn't doubt one bit that some of these kids they're recruiting probably have friends and people they know going to school at the University of Arkansas.
That's true. Well, Kevin, shifting a little bit, you came out with the 2017 at AR Hoop Scoop All Arkansas Grassroots Player of the Year, first, second, and third team. 43 players in all. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is something that in the spring, after the spring play was over, you know, June's kind of a break there, a period for players to go to camps. They also go with their high school teams and play in some high school camps. And during that time, I did basically a spring player of the spring and a list of 10 names that were, you know, my top 10 players, and then I kind of broke it down by class. And so this is just the follow-up. This is the end. You know, this is a totality, spring and summer. And I really wanted to develop it and expand it and make it bigger, and that's what we did. Player of the Year, I had a 10-player first team. I did a 16-player second team, and I had a 16-player third team. And really what I had were 40 names. There were that I was going to put on the first, second, and third teams, but I had probably another 25 I could have included somewhere. And it's not one of those deals where everybody gets a trophy. That's just how good basketball is in Arkansas. You know, I started running down through pros and cons. My evaluations were based not only on performance, overall performance spring and summer, but improvement into the July periods, which is really make or break with college coaches who are evaluating. You know, it's really finishing things up the right way. So I put emphasis on that, how you project to the next level, whether it's low major, mid-major, high major, you know, and some other things like competition level. You know, obviously if you play with a 17 and under group, you're playing against the best of the best, so that factored in. But I came up with, you know, what I felt like was, you know, 43 players that, you know, I could have added another 15 to 25 guys and not blink. But Isaiah Joe committed to Arkansas. He was my player of the year for 2017 grassroots basketball, and he's very deserving. And here's a guy that was the top shooter on the Adidas circuit. That started in April and carried all the way through July. I think he was top 5 in like 5 or 6 offensive categories on the circuit. And here's a guy that's he's an efficient shooter, but a volume shooter too. So it's not like his efficiency is based on limited numbers. Average 15 points a game. He does other stuff. Solid defender, very underrated in that area. A very unselfish player, team player. Doesn't rack up a lot of assists, but he knows when to pass the ball, and sometimes he's the first pass, and then it's that second pass that leads to an easy score for somebody else. So he's a guy that triggers a lot without scoring the ball. So just a really solid all-around player, great attitude, raised the right way. Hog fans are going to love him, but he was my player of the year. And let me tell you, when we start talking about guys it's Tim Caesar. He's not off the radar, but he was a guy that was really quiet at the spring and summer. I have him on my second team, but he's a guy coming into his junior season at Southwest Christian Academy who I think has a real chance of kind of jumping onto a national scene at some point. I've been to a couple of the Southwest Christian Academy practices, and this guy is going up against 6'10", 6'9", 6'9", 6'8". Of course, he's 6'8" himself and has really nice length and strong upper body, but it seems like he gets every other rebound out there going up against, guys that should be equal athleticism. They're definitely equal in size, but his talent just really, really bubbles up. And after going to a few practices, it just seems like he just has a tracking device to the ball. I mean, he just gets there. He gets out of his area and gets rebounds. He goes out of his area to block shots. He's still a work in progress on offense. He's obviously still young and raw in certain areas, but here's a guy that I think I can see why high majors are interested in him. But here's a guy that was quiet most of the spring and summer. And so he finished up July with a bang once he joined the Arkansas Hawks 16 and under. Almost averaged a double-double, I think, out in Vegas. And so I put him on my second team, and I feel good about that when I'm seeing these Southwest Christian Academy practices because the guy's just going out there and really has been the standout guy amongst some really good mid and high major players.
Now, last but not least, because we just got a few more minutes before we have to go to a commercial break, Arkansas had a little bit of off-season trouble, so to speak. Orlando Cook did get arrested for public intox, disorderly conduct, and first-degree assault. What is we have this indefinite suspension by Coach Anderson. Tell us a little bit more details about this.
Well, really, these charges, first-degree assault, public intoxication, disorderly conduct, none of it's a good look. Mike Anderson runs a clean program, a program where he does not, put up with shenanigans. We've seen in the past where, people get second chances, but, I think Cook had a DUI charge last year. And so, if you consider this the second strike, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's dismissed from the program. But at the same time, if he's not, I trust Mike Anderson. And the reason I do is because if you look at what he's done in dealing with player problems in the past, he hasn't had a ton of player problems, which speaks to the strength of the program and the leadership. But when he has, it's not a knee-jerk thing. He indefinitely suspends folks. We saw Anton Beard being welcomed back in the program. We saw Dustin Thomas being welcomed back. But we saw Ja'Cory Williams, basically they said, we need to part ways, and that worked out great for him. He ended up having a redshirt season at Middle Tennessee State and turned things around for himself, had his best year of basketball as a senior there. So I think Mike Anderson's going to do what's best for Orlando Cook and for the program. Maybe there's an opportunity for him to come back. I won't be surprised if there's not. Some of the details that emerge from that, obviously a player's innocent until proven guilty. But being in a situation like that and it also being a second run-in with legal trouble, I won't be one bit surprised if he's played his last basketball at Arkansas. But you hope the best for the young man. You hope all parties involved in that situation, end up being okay. It sounds like the situation sounded bad, but the one thing in the police report that was encouraging is that the person that was being hit and on the ground allegedly didn't have any visible injury. So that's a good thing there.
Well, maybe he was drunk enough he couldn't hit very hard. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those situations that's unfortunate. I mean, all these young people are in college. These things happen. It's not justified. It's still wrong, but it's not surprising, And we tend to look at athletes being in these situations, and we do hold them to a higher standard, and justifiably so in some ways. But we shouldn't be shocked at fights breaking out on Dixon Street or in Fayetteville on a weekend night after some late partying.
That's true.
Those things happen.
Well, Kevin, let everybody know. I know that a lot of guys listening right now want to read that article, especially about your first, second, and third teams. Tell them where they can read the articles and where they can follow you at.
Well, I've released those my All Arkansas Grassroots teams on Twitter. And you can follow me there at AR Hoop Scoop. That's capital A, capital R, capital H, OOP, capital S, COOP. And then, I'm at hogville.net, contributing there, put a lot of content.
All right, well, I think maybe we just lost Kevin. That's okay. Read his articles, though, at sportinglifearkansas.com. Also, check him out on AR Hoop Scoop on Twitter for the best coverage of Arkansas Razorback and Razorback basketball recruiting. So stay tuned after the commercial break. Our last segment, we'll thank Kevin for his contribution, and we'll be back after this commercial break.